Please welcome. Thank you. Please welcome Professor Yazid Bastami, the chairperson, the professors of linguistics, and the coordinator of postgraduate on English language education, the head of the departments of English at UM, Bapak Dr. Suharyadi, participants, especially from tim MGMP Bahasa Inggris Kota Malang, SMA Bahasa Inggris Kota Malang, and everyone who are interested to join our workshop today. Thank you so much. We welcome you to the Zoom webinar by the English departments of the Faculty of Letters, Universitas Negeri Malang. So this is the opening. Please turn off your microphone. We are about to begin the ceremony. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning. Selamat pagi. How are you, everyone? I hope everyone is fine and well. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, this is the 67th year of Universitas Negeri Malang, and this year we have various events which we believe can open vast opportunities nationally and internationally. This is one of opportunities which we deem as nationally or probably almost internationally parts of recognitions for the university's existence. My name is Nanang Zubaidi, and I will be your host for this opening ceremony of our workshop. This is a simple ceremony, actually. So the theme of this year's workshop is leveraging on homemade digital corpora to escort high school teacher to academic writing. This year, we are honored to have Professor Yazid Bastami as well as Bapak Dr. Suharyadi as the presenters for our workshop on Corpus Linguistics, targeting senior high school EFL teachers in local Malang Raya area. Hopefully next year's occasions, next year program will be able to be conducted fully offline or probably hybrid like this one at least. And hopefully there will be many benefits and advantage for us, the participant as well as the faculty as well. So ladies and gentlemen, our program today is opening. In this opening, I would like to invite the representative of tim MGMP Bahasa Inggris SMA Kota Malang, Bapak Slamet Mujiono. As we have known before that this workshop is organized by the English department in cooperation with tim MGMP Bahasa Inggris Kota Malang. So we would like to invite Bapak Slamet Mujiono. Please welcome Bapak.
Thank you, Pak. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum.
Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa dzurriyyatihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, today we can meet all of you, my friends, my beloved professor. There is Pak Suharyadi, Pak Yazid Bastami, who used to teach us all in our beloved University UM Malang, as well as Pak Nanang Zubaidi, who has been helping us so far conducting this program. They will be all accompanying us, accompanying and also guiding us in order to know more about this course. And also, I would like to say thanks for all of you, especially my dear colleagues from SMA and also from SMK. Majoring in English, teaching English in their school, so that we are here can learn together. in the hope that what we get from this course will be useful for our teaching and learning activity. And I really wish that um, what we are going to do here under the guidance uh, by Professor Yazid and then Pak Suharyadi and also Pak Nanang can give us a new input, a new enlightenment for us all, especially in this situation, so that we can take such a great benefit from the course for all of
Aris,
us. So I think that is all I can say, representing all the English teachers SMK in Malang City here. Thank you so much and uh, wish you all the best and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Bapak. So thank you so much, Pak Selamat Bujiono, for very your speech actually. So next, ladies and gentlemen, to finally open this workshop, we would like to invite Dr. Suharyadi, the head of the department, as well as the presenters for this workshop to deliver opening speech and to officially open our workshop. Please welcome Dr. Suharyadi.
All right, thank you so much, Bapak Nanang Zubaidi. Good morning, Ibu Bapak. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah, God bless you all. I hope that everyone is happy and healthy. Yeah, we are now still in the online way of meeting. So we hope that everyone is happy when joining this invitation from our team of research. I would like to address Bapak Slamet, my friend too, the person in charge of MGMP ya, for the English teachers in Kota Malang ya. Yeah, I almost forget that term. Even in the university, we have now MBKM2, which is very close. Yeah, very similar. Thank you so much for joining our program, including sharing the information from our team to all of the English teachers in Kota Malang. Thank you so much for your hard work. Then number two, I also love to address all of the English teachers in Kota Malang. Thank you so much. We have been, I think, far away. I mean, we don't meet each other for a long time because we cannot meet physically. Today, it is very lucky for us, that we can meet you, although we just look at the faces through the Zoom platform. So when I look at the faces, everyone is happy. I'm happy then. Thank you so much. And then as told by the MC that this program is actually a plan, annual plan, yeah, for the faculty members of the Department of English to propose a grant. It can be research, it can be also community service. This time we have community service specialized to English teachers in Kota Malang. So you should be very lucky to be selected in this program. And then the team, the chairperson of this community service is Professor Yazid. As you know, that he is an expert in linguistics. So the topic of today's workshop is very relevant to linguistic aspect, but still very useful for the purpose of teaching and learning process that will be done by the English teachers in the school also helping the students to improve their English. I think this workshop is very relevant. So don't worry to get lost in the jungle. Yeah. All right. So so once again, this is a requirement for all the for faculty members of the Department of English to have community service. Yeah, it can be every semester, it can be every year. So once again, congratulations to all of the English teachers selected for this. And then, yeah, our team will work hard to provide the workshop, and which will be held within 2 formats. Yeah. So today is the first meeting, which is online. Yeah, we use Zoom for this workshop, and the second one is going to be through a physical meeting. Hopefully, we just pray to God that we can meet each other still with the protocol of we should keep the distance. Yeah.
No voice, Pak.
Can you hear my voice?
Yes, now I
Yeah.
can.
So once again, thank you so much for your attendance, for your participation in this workshop. We do hope that this workshop will be very fruitful, very useful for you and also for your students in the classroom. So yeah, we also involve 2 students of our department that will help us. That is a part of the collaboration. Without further ado, by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I officially open this workshop. So please enjoy the workshop. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Pak.
You are welcome, Ibu Bapak.
Thank you very much, Bapak Suharyadi, for giving the most welcoming remarks to open this workshop. And ladies and gentlemen, Bapak Ibu semuanya, this concludes the opening ceremony of the workshop. There are several information we would like to rely at the beginning of the workshop, just to give like highlights of what is we are doing today. Allow me to share my screen first. Oops, sorry. Can you see my screen? Hopefully you can see my screen. So the whole workshop today is leveraging on homemade digital corpora to escort high school teachers to academic writing project. And it is combinations of both community service as well as research. Yesterday, we present a research based on our survey as well as the interview to English EFL senior high school EFL teacher in Malang. And so definitely the implications of that research is that we need to provide and we need to organize such a corpus linguistic workshop for senior high school EFL teachers to help teachers to familiarize themselves to develop their lexical, grammatical, and rhetorical convention of their own discourse community and how to apply them. So definitely this is just some topics to cover inside the workshop. And this is part 1 of the workshop, which we conduct online. And there will be the second part of the workshop to be announced later on, depending on the situations, basically the national situation and the local situation in Malang. So the second workshop will be done offline, hopefully, in UM. And our presenters are Professor Dr. Yazid Bastami, the coordinator of postgraduate program, advisors, teachers, as well as educational practitioners, not only in Indonesia, but internationally recognized, including thesis advisors and thesis examiners in many universities in Australia and India. We also have Dr. Suharyadi, the head of the department, as well as the experts in linguistics, applied linguistic, as well as SFL, as well as Nanang Zubaidi, me myself, the newbie in this area. We are helped by the Panitia Mahasiswa, some volunteers, including Afifa Ainia, Bimo, and Chandra Wijaya. Afifa is doing research on Corpus Linguistics, so definitely this is related to her expertise as well. This is the schedule. The online session will be conducted today, and the offline session will be conducted to be announced closely. So for today's workshop session, we have three main topics to discuss, including the introduction into Corpus Linguistics and corpora, as well as some corpus linguistic skills. Next, we will have a project with all the participants to develop homemade corpora, self-compiled corpora by the EFL senior high school teachers. And next, the day 2 is the second sessions to be announced later. We'll discuss further on the practical level. So the today's sessions is more on the theoretical level, while the following session will be on the practical one. It is suggested that the participants follow the workshop using laptops if possible, because we will try several interesting things during this workshop and the next one. That's all for our opening. And then we would like to invite our first speakers, first presenters, as well as to start our 2 sessions of the workshop. We would like to invite Professor Yazid Bastami as the first speakers for this workshop. That's it from me as the host of the opening ceremony. Thank you for your time. And now we offer to Bapak Yazid. Pak Yazid, time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Nanang. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa ala. Allahumma shif qalbi wa ghullah wa alimna ma lam akun alam bi'ina kulli ma as'alu alayhi man la ilaha illa hu la ma'buda siwa. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Pak Suharyati, thank you, Pak Nanang. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Ibu Bapak yang saya hormati, Pak Nanang is one of the new, how many? Four new faculty members of the English department, and he has been geared towards activities of the department, including this activity of workshop. He has been chairing the committee of this activity, even though the head formally is me of this project. But the real executor is actually Pak Nanang and friends. And I really appreciate the work, the hard work of Pak Nanang. Pak Nanang graduated from UIN Malang and then UGM for the master's degree, and then for the PhD from UniMel, right, Pak Nanang? University of Melbourne.
Yes,
Australia. I usually confuse between University of Melbourne and Sydney University. Okay, University of Melbourne. So the same institution as Professor Bamayudi Cahyono. Well, I hope Pak Nanang will be a professor soon.
I mean,
through the publication. Okay, all right, Ibu Bapak. Well, Pak Nanang mentioned that my session will be theoretical. I'm not saying that this is really theoretical, because this is simply conceptual, not really theoretical. If it is theoretical, it sometimes sounds flabbergasting and threatening to some extent. Let me say it is conceptual, and it will be conceptual in the sense that that is how I understand what is meant by corpus linguistics, particularly for language teachers. This is going to be simple, Ibu Bapak, and I'm going to use my own perspective in understanding corpus linguistics. So basically, it is my own understanding, and I don't refer to any books in particular about the introductory session on Corpus Linguistics. I'm just simply referring to my own experience of doing this to the best of my knowledge. So that will be the material of my session this morning. Okay, allow me to share the materials, the PPT. Hopefully it works. Hopefully my computer doesn't run any technological glitch. Okay, is that the slideshow? Okay, let me move on to the next slide, Ibu Bapak. My goodness, do I have any problem with this? That is what I'm afraid of. If I use slideshow, sometimes I've got a problem with the operation of my PPT. Sometimes it's due to the length of my use of the computer without shutting down. And it seems to be the problem with my computer this morning. Wait. Does it appear in your screen, Ibu Bapak? My second slide.
Yeah.
Okay, let me make it a bit bigger. Is that too big? Is that too big, Ibu Bapak?
Too big, Pak.
Yes,
Too
too
big.
big.
Yeah.
Too big. I don't know what's
Wow.
going on with this.
Maybe the zoom ratio, Pak. The zoom ratio,
Probably.
few option, zoom ratio fit to
That's
Windows.
enough, Pak.
What do you think of this, Ibu Bapak? Let me try once again to have a slideshow. If it fails, I'm going to use this manual show of my slides, so bear with me. And it's going to be 2 sessions, I believe, in a row. And Pak Nanang will be the second after me. Let me try once again. This is slideshow. No, okay. It seems to be working. Hopefully it keeps working all the way through until the end of my session. Okay, my topic today is Corpus Linguistics for language teachers. So basically this is a simple introduction to what's meant by Corpus Linguistics. Well, Ibu Bapak, I would refer to myself as somebody professionally of split, how should I say? I'm of split professional identity. What I mean is that, well, by education, I was educated in the area of language education, English language education, English language teaching. My S1 was on that area, in that area. And then my S2 is in the area of applied linguistics. And my S3 was in the area of English language teaching or English language education as well, back to that. But I'm not really into, teaching, learning activities, teaching, learning, activities including, let's say, curriculum development, materials development. I'm not really into that. So thus far, my research works have been in the area of closer to linguistics, even though it's not purely linguistics. So I would say myself as an applied linguist, even though the definition of applied linguistics is always contested. And this morning, I just downloaded a material, new publication, very short publication, also still talking about the contestation of what is meant by linguistics and what is meant by applied linguistics, particularly what is meant by applied linguistics. But I would refer myself as applied linguist in this case, so that I can cover both sides, pure linguistics and also the educational side, particularly of English language teaching. Even though I'm the convener of the master's and doctoral program in English language teaching of our department, the Department of English, my works, that's why I've been in the area of linguistics, closer to that. So that's why I refer myself to be professionally split. Okay, let me just go on. That is a simple introductory note on me, myself, so that you can understand how I approach what is meant by corpus linguistics for language teachers here. If there is anything contradictory to your understanding, then you can understand that I'm of that kind of person, professionally speaking. Ibu Bapak, oh my goodness, it stopped. It just stopped again. I don't know what's going on to my computer. Well, bear with me, Bu Bapak. Let me just repeat. Sharing. Look, let me do it manually. Oh my goodness. Bear with me, Bu Bapak. I don't know why I cannot move to the second slide or to the next slides, even though I've already
Or maybe I can help you, Pak Yazid. So
yes,
I can
please do
share.
help me.
Yeah, I can share
Yes.
the slides. So I need the PPT.
The PPT is already in with the committee, but
Okay, all right.
Pak Nanang probably can help me.
Yes, yes. Let me see.
Probably I should have shut down my computer this morning so that it resumed with fresh condition of the computer.
Is it this, Pak Yazid?
No, the other file.
Another
This
one.
is
The other file, yeah. Okay. Hopefully this one. This one?
Forgive us, Ibu Bapak.
This one, Pak
No,
Yazid?
that's the second one.
Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Oh, so I shared the wrong
file.
Yeah. Hopefully this one. Yes. Is
Still
it
appearing? No, that is still the
Oh.
second file.
How come? Oh.
I don't know whether
But
the problem with the computer or the problem with the Zoom.
wait.
Pak Nanang, can you just help me with the sharing on the file on the
Try
screen?
to help
Yeah.
to share screen.
Yes, Mbak Tifa.
So the Corpus Linguistic for language teachers, that with that slide, Pak?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one?
I
But
will.
number one.
Okay.
This one?
Yes,
Okay.
this one.
All right. So I can be the operator. So just tell me which slide I should show.
Okay. Now the next slide, please.
This one?
Yeah, this slide. So Ibu Bapak back. Yes, this slide. Ibu Bapak. This is the way how I understand what is meant by corpus linguistics. So I would frame it within research method, within the context of research method or research methodology, Ibu Bapak. So when we talk about linguistics, we may have this kind of divide that is context-free and context-bound linguistics. For those who recently attended my research methods in linguistics, probably you've been quite familiar with this idea. But for those who joined my classes on grammar, on IC, well, several years ago, then probably we haven't talked about this at that time, or we didn't talk about this at that time. So to some extent, it can be a little bit new for some of the alumni graduating a few years ago, but for those graduating in recent years, well, this understanding has been quite there. I mean, in our discourse for quite some time recently. Okay, so what do you understand about context-free linguistics? Anybody who is familiar with that? Anybody?
Still no, sir.
Can you still hear me? I've got unstable internet connection. I don't know. Okay, so context-free linguistics is basically Chomskyan linguistics in the sense that, okay, the concern or the main concern of context-free linguistics is theorization of the mechanism, how language operates, how language works. In other words, that is the theoretical side of linguistics. And usually, the starting point of the linguistic analysis or linguistic understanding of context-free linguistics is sentence. That is at the syntactical level of language. And that's Chomsky mainly. And of course, what I mean by Chomskyan is that the main thought has been propagated by Chomsky, Noam Chomsky, and it has been taken up by many other linguists who approve of Chomsky's idea. And that is context-free linguistics, and of course, context-free linguistic research. And the second one is context-bound linguistic research. Many, I believe many English teachers have been familiar with, the pragmatic side of language, like the politeness. When you talk about grammar, when you teach grammar to students, when you talk about whether it is okay to say, can you please, could you please, something like that. That belongs to the category of pragmatics in general. And something like pragmatics here is referred to as context-bound linguistics, in the sense that, okay, the full understanding of particular meaning of linguistic event should take into account the social side, the context, etc., outside of the linguistic properties themselves. When we talk about context-free linguistics, always, we try to devoid the linguistic properties from the context, from the social context, from the immediate context, which Halliday refers to as context. I'm not talking about context, Ibu Bapak. I'm talking about context, referring to M.A.K. Halliday. Okay, so context-free linguistics doesn't take into account any context, including social context. It can be, when we talk about social context, we may talk about the ideological context. We may talk about, environmental context, etc., etc. But when we talk about context-bound, of course, we take into account the context here for the understanding of the linguistic phenomena or linguistic event. Okay, but Haryati, please move on to the next slide. And of course, our understanding about context-free and context-bound linguistics have some methodological implications. So that is actually my short explanation about context-free linguistics. Move on, Haryati, the next slide. So context-bound linguistics, I also have touched on that. Let's move on, Haryati. Okay, what are the possible methodological implications for research, Ibu Bapak? Well, I still remember a little bit when I took my master's degree back in 2002, there was a discussion about, mainly the discussion was about, the lamentation, the complaint among language teachers, stating basically that Chomskyan linguistics does not provide any nutrition for the professional life of language teachers. So that was the main issue of the lamentation or the complaint among language teachers. And teachers feel that, okay, context-bound linguistics provides many insights to language teachers. And to some extent, I agree with that. And on many occasions in our context, even in the linguistics study program in our university, there is a strong tendency that the students also take up the, the path of context-bound linguistics research instead of instead of context-free linguistics. Because in context-free linguistic research, well, most of the time the students do not need to deal with what do you call it, the data collection, etc., etc. And that is part of the methodological implications of context-free linguistics. So we may think of the possible methodological implications in the way that, okay, context-free linguistic research, because it's concerned with the theorization of how language works or how language operates, then there is a tendency that, okay, you don't really need to collect linguistic data. So that is part of, or one of the implications or methodological implications for research. On the other side, when we deal with context-bound linguistics, then we need to deal with what we call parole. If you refer to the concept by, are you familiar with, Ibu Bapak, are you familiar with what is the modern linguist, the founding father of modern linguistics? Anybody can help me? From Swiss, I'm not mistaken. Oh my goodness, anybody can help me? Okay, the point is that when you deal with language use, then basically that is always context bound. And I believe when teachers, language teachers, deal with language, particularly foreign language, in this case, English, you're dealing with English teaching and learning in your schools, I believe most of the time you're dealing with language use. Language use can be referred to as parole, Ibu Bapak. And the opposite would be competence. And that is not really about language use, but that is the theorization aspect of language use. And Chomsky has been dealing with the theorization aspect, but teachers most of the time deal with language use. And language use is always context bound. Okay, the next slide, Ibu Bapak. When we deal with the context-bound linguistics, implicating the availability of language use, then we are dealing with the empirics of language use. So the question would be related to the previous explanation would be, how do we work about in context-free linguistic research? In other words, do we need to collect data from the field? Anybody would like to answer this? Or anybody would like to speculate what the answer would be? Hello, Ibu Bapak. Anybody would like to speculate? No, from Diana, Budiana. Okay. So in other words, do we need to collect data from the field? Yes, Budiana has got the right answer. The right answer is no. Okay, the next slide, Pak. So the answer is no, just like the answer of Budiana. So we may just rely on our own introspective data. So we, as context-free linguists, then basically we can be referred to as armchair linguists. So you can just sit in your chair. Would you say sit on your chair or sit in your chair? Probably you can say sit on your stool, but usually we talk about chair, usually the use of preposition would be in your chair. So you can just sit in your chair, spending your time contemplating on linguistic issues without necessarily going to the field to collect linguistic data. And you try to theorize that blah, blah, blah is blah, blah, blah. And blah, blah, blah is blah, blah, blah can be your theorization. That can be your hypothetical statement. And if you can strengthen your hypothetical statement by providing some kind of logical explanation, and probably to some extent also with the help of data, not necessarily data from the field, but data from your introspection, then many people or other people may accept your hypothesis. If the acceptance is quite quite wide, then the status of the hypothesis can be lifted up, and this may enter into the category of theory or something like that. So just like this, for instance, you may ask, why can't we use swear or dirty words? Probably you've been paying attention to the way how your students use swear or dirty words among them. And probably psychologically, you feel itchy in your mind. And then you start asking, why can't we use swear or dirty words? And you try to answer this kind of question. For instance, you try to answer the question by looking at the alphabets. Okay, for instance, you have the combination of F, U, C, K, for instance. Probably in terms of alphabet, there is nothing wrong with F. There is nothing wrong with U. There is nothing wrong with C. There is nothing wrong with K. But as soon as the combination is such, and we are familiar with English, then we start having a kind of itchiness in mind upon the use of that word in real language use. And how would you explain that? Can we refer to simply the alphabet as the materials of language to explain why we cannot use swear or dirty words? It seems to be no. That is not enough to only refer to the alphabets to provide the explanation why we cannot use swear or dirty words. Okay, my point here is if our understanding about why we cannot use swear or dirty words is by referring to some kind of theoretical explanation, then that belongs to context-free linguistics. But if you're dealing with the same question, but then you try to collect data from the field, then that may fall into the category of context-bound linguistics. Okay, now I've indicated that, okay, in context-free linguistics, then the tendency of the data that the linguists refer to are introspective data. In other words, we as linguists, when we deal with context-free linguistics, then we simply deal with introspective data. We do some kind of introspection into our own language, what do you call, language storage. I mean, yeah, our competence. So that's why Chomsky, when he talked about the theorization, he made some kind of assumption that the theorization is built on idealization. The idealization of, okay, ideal speaker of English, ideal blah, 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 ideal blah, 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 without any disturbances from any other factors. And that is similar to the idealization of, theorization in the area of, let's say, physics. When people talk about the gravity, the law of gravity, then probably to some extent at that time, people disregarded the forces of the wind, the forces of any other factors other than the gravity. And that is the way how the theorists try to idealize the situation. It's also true with Chomsky. And of course, other people criticize that because we cannot really always idealize things because many things, many factors, many variables may come into play in the theorization. So that's why then other people from the other side then say that, okay, well, we cannot just simply rely on Chomskyan way of thinking. Then when we talk about language, particularly for teachers, then you always deal with language use, and language use is always contextualized. Just, you can imagine probably when you're one of my students or among the group of my students, probably at that time you were waiting for me to come to the classroom, and probably I came late. And then when I did come, then you started giving a kind of what do you call, reminder to your colleagues, to your friends, by saying, wongi teko, right? Instead of saying, Pak Yazid datang. Sometimes you may say, you may refer to me as wongi, right? Wongi teko. Probably because at that time I was still young, some of you probably didn't even bother to use Pak Yazid teko or Pak Yazid datang. Because I was still young and you were also young at the time, then probably some of you would say, Yazid teko, Yazid teko. That is contextual, right? Depending on your mood, psychological mood, depending on the context of the time, just like the one I just mentioned about the age difference or age differences. If you feel that, well, that is close to each other, then you don't need to say Pak. But probably some other people, probably because you consider my position as one of the lecturers at that time, then you refer to me as Pak. Or probably there was a kind of slight difference in terms of age, then you decide to refer to me as Pak. Okay, I also remember the moment when we did a kind of PPL at the time. I did the PPL at SMA 8. Anybody from SMA 8? Pak Slamet, you're from SMA 8, right? I did the PPL at SMA 8. And when we had that kind of activity, I simply noticed that there was a switch of the practice among us, among the PPLers at the time. There was a tendency that among the colleagues, among peers of the students at the time, then we started to call each other with Pa or Bu. And that was what I mean by something contextual. When we talk about language, then the contextuality of the language is always there. And that is run counter to Chomskyan way of thinking about the theorization of linguistics. Okay, so in that sense, then that is context bound. Okay, the next slide, Ibu Bapak. And how do we work about data in context-bound linguistic research? In other words, we need to collect data from the field. Bapak, you may answer that, and I believe the answer is already clear, because we are talking about two things in juxtaposition: context-free and context-bound linguistics. And context-free, we don't really need to collect the data from the field, as Pudiana has already answered. And now when we talk about context-bound linguistics, then that is simply the opposite. Yes, we do need to collect data from the field. So we are dealing with the empirical data. Okay, next slide, Ibu Bapak. Pak Haryati or Mbak Afifah. Oh, Pak Haryati. Okay, so that is the answer. And the data from the field may mean Ibu Bapak. In this context, I could only recall three different things. There's data from physical real world. Those people in the area of social linguistics, anthropological linguistics, pragmatics, they may collect the data from physically real field. Some other people may collect the data from the laboratory. Those people in the area of psycholinguistics, for instance, you may do some kind of interviews with your research subjects, and you ask your interview, and you record the linguistic data in your laboratory, because probably you need some kind of technology to record the data. And the technology, of course, is usually hosted in a laboratory. So in that case, then your data can be data from laboratory. Another kind is the data from computer managed linguistic data. So you don't need, this is just like the crossing, what do you call the crossroad, the crossing point. Few seconds ago, I mentioned about armchair linguistics and armchair linguistic research, where you don't need to deal with the data from the field. But nowadays, you may still do some kind of data management, linguistic data management through your computer, and you don't need to go to the field to collect the data, but you simply make use of the available linguistic data by navigating your computer in your computer. So in that sense, then the data from computer managed linguistic data. And the combination of the data from the real field, the data from the laboratory nowadays are also managed using the computer. That is nowadays the trend. Okay, the next slide. And bingo, you know what I mean by bingo, right? Ibu Bapak, Pak Nanan can tell you about what's meant by bingo. Of course, usually when you deal with what do you call something like game, language game, then when you get it right, then people usually say bingo. In the Australian context, when you have a game, there is something specific there. What do you win for? Usually, if you start playing a game, then your counterpart probably would ask you, what do you win for? In the Australian context, usually the answer would be, I mean, the typical answer would be ship station. What do we win for when we play game? What do you win for? And then the answer, the typical answer would be ship station. As you have heard, in Australia, the number of the people is less compared to the number of the sheep, right? So that's why sheep is within their discourse, entrenched discourse. So that's why they refer to that as ship station. Okay, that is just additional side. Corpus Linguistics deals with linguistic data worked about and managed using a computer or probably some network of computers. So basically, Corpus Linguistics is like that. Okay, let's move on, Pak Haryadi. But let me give you a small caveat, a small caution, small reminder. With regard to research reports can be in the form of thesis, can be in the form of dissertations, can be in the form of articles. Context-free linguistic research usually does not present a heading or subheading of method or methodology. If you're dealing with context-free linguistic research, and then you're dealing with the report of the research, let's say in a form of article, then you don't need to anticipate that there would be any subheading of method or methodology. But context-bound linguistic research usually presents subheading of method or methodology. And that is closer to whether your research is quantitative or qualitative. If it is qualitative, some people do not write methodological sections sometimes, even though on other occasions, they may also write the section on method or methodology in qualitative research. But in quantitative research, usually the method or methodology is like obligatory section or subsection. So context-free linguistics is closer to the practice of qualitative research, even though not all, I mean, not 100%, but context-bound linguistic research usually takes the side of quantitative way of writing their research report, where the section on method or methodology usually is considered obligatory. There is just a small caveat because, yeah, I believe most of language teachers, particularly in Indonesia, are more familiar with articles, theses, dissertations with a chapter or subheading on method or methodology. But just to tell you additional information, the context-free linguistic research most of the time does not provide any information about the method or methodology. And the method or methodology can be part of the whole process of writing the report. Okay, the next slide. Sample works. This one I don't think that Pak Suharyadi has got the link. of this ventriloquizing and C-smile and Kolka, we can simply skip this, Pak Haryati. In my own computer, I've got the link. If I can operate that, then actually I can show you the example of ventriloquizing and C-smile and Kolka as sample works that we have dealt with, and we've been able to publish of the research report in the form of article in an international journal.
Oh, Pak Nanang has the link, Pak Yazid?
I don't think so, because
Okay.
I
No,
made the
we don't.
package before I send the PPT file to Pak Nanang. Okay, let's just move on.
Okay.
We can come to that point later if we have time and we need to look at those samples. Okay, as noted earlier, context-bound linguistic research usually presents a section on method or methodology. Thus, in general, the research report takes IMRED or IMRED-C format, I, introduction, M, method, R, results, A, N, D, discussion, or IMRED-C, C, conclusion. Okay, so this just reminder in passing, Ibu Bapak. Okay, let's move on. The next slide. Yeah. How about articles in our field, Ibu Bapak? Mostly empirical. I mean, what I mean by empirical here is empirical data from the field, or non-empirical. What I mean by non-empirical here is we don't need to have empirical data from the field that is introspective. So what about in our fields, Ibu Bapak? Mostly empirical or mostly non-empirical in the sense of introspective data? Okay, I believe you are going to answer empirical. Okay, let's move on, Ibu Bapak. So our field, ELT, English language teaching, internationally ELT, Indonesianally, ELE, Ibu Bapak, according to Dikti, that is ELE, English Language Education. But at the international level, ELT is more popular instead of ELE. Okay, our field in Indonesia usually deals with empirical research articles, empirical research. So the articles usually take the IMRED-C format, or IMRED-C. Okay, let's move on. Probably, Ibu Bapak, you're asking why I'm talking about IMRED-C. Well, this is the answer, Ibu Bapak. Back. One more, back. Okay. And when we talk about corpus linguistics, Ibu Bapak, mainly we are talking actually about the M from the IMRED-C, introduction, method, results, and discussion, and also conclusion. Mainly when we talk about corpus linguistics, we are actually talking about the M aspect or the M element of the IMRED-C, which stands for the method or methodology. Okay, let's move on. So the M method here we are talking about is particularly about data collection and data analysis. Thus, in general, when we talk about corpus linguistics, actually, we talk about data management, linguistic data management, Ibu Bapak. Okay, let's move on. But probably before we go on with the next slides, we need to ponder about this question, Ibu Bapak. But how does corpus linguistics deal with our job as language teachers? Okay, you don't need to answer, Ibu Bapak, but you need to think about the answers. You don't need to express the answers. I'm not going to give you any gift for the right answer, unfortunately, Ibu Bapak. So you can keep your answers in mind. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, Ibu Bapak. Well, the answers can be unlimited, of course, in number. But in my own case, as an example, because I'm also an English language teacher, but just like you, I've been concerned with cultivating and instilling comparative outlook in my students, Ibu Bapak. Why? Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Why? Well, since we are dealing with a language, in this case, a foreign language, in this case, English as a foreign language, within the context of Indonesia, we are dealing with culture. And we have culture, we have our own culture, different than that of the native speakers of the language, the target language. Okay, Ibu Bapak, probably as language teachers, we have been familiar with, okay, pay attention to this, Ibu Bapak, and we have culture different than that of our native speakers of the target language. Different than. On purpose, I'm using this, Ibu Bapak, different than, to give you a possible example of what to look at later in the corpus or in the corpora. Some people may be concerned with that. Let's say you as teachers, you might be concerned with this issue when you give corrective feedback to your students writing or the students speaking. Probably your student write different than, and then you cross it and you change it into different from. In that sense, then actually you're doing something quote unquote wrong, because different than is also English, different from is also English, and different to is also English. But usually among us, among Indonesian students, they don't use different than or different from or different to, but the tendency is that they say different with, right? That is a kind of interference from Bahasa Indonesia, because what we have is berbeda dengan, not berbeda dari, right? Because we have berbeda dengan, then dengan is usually translated into with, then the written form of our students usually is different with. But we as language teachers may learn from the corpus that actually in English, different than is accepted, different from is accepted, different to is accepted, but different with is not accepted. And we can, we can use the corpus to strengthen our understanding about that. Okay, now let's move on. Does it matter, Ibu Bapak? Okay, let's move on. Okay, let me tell you this. Probably some of you have been quite familiar with this. I've been brought this attention to some people on different occasions, and I'm repeating this. There is a tendency that among Indonesians, we tend to use expectation. I still remember in a video from the government about how they deal with COVID-19, the video, about the policy, the video shows frequent use of diharapkan, 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 just like on TV news. If you listen to TV news, I believe you've heard this expression quite a lot in Bahasa Indonesia. There is a report from, a particular accident or particular event, and then in the end, there is a tendency that the reporter would say, diharapkan pemerintah akan menyediakan bantuan bla 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 bla. The word diharapkan is so frequently used among us, and that also provides some kind of explanation why Indonesian people also use the word diharapkan in their written text academic texts. And most of the word diharapkan does not actually provide any, any argumentation or any evidence on the need to have the harapan. Okay, let's move on. So we did some kind of analysis of the existing corpus, existing corpora, Ibu Bapak. We've got Sismail, we've got Cinta. Sismail stands for Corpus of State University of Malang Indonesian Language English, and Cinta, Corpus of Indonesian Texts in Academia. So you've got those words in our collection. Okay, let's move on. So among those data, the sets of data in English and in Bahasa Indonesia, we've found a tendency among us, among the students particularly. We are talking about academic contexts among the students to express expectations. So let's move on. Let's try to check the data. So from Sismail, we've got this number. Support-based expectations 128, support-based expectation 435 in Cinta, and hollow expectations. What I mean by hollow is kosong, meaning unsupported expectations. Bigger number of views. Okay, let's move on, Ibu Bapak. So we can have that kind of data by analyzing corpus, Ibu Bapak. And I believe as language teachers, we need to have such a kind of data set to, to strengthen our belief about how the language works and how our students work with that language. Particularly in this case, because we're talking about culture in this case. Most of the time, when we talk about English language teaching in the Indonesian context, then culture speaks a lot, and the culture and the issue here is mostly about. I mean, my personal concern is mostly about interference. So the cultural norms in Bahasa Indonesia are brought to English. So we use English as the text, but in terms of the culture, most of the time are influenced by our Indonesian culture or Javanese culture. Well, support-based expectation, what I mean here is, the expectation is provided with immediate rationalization, immediate argument, immediate evidence. But in hollow expectations, then there is no immediate argumentation, there is no immediate evidentiality, there is no immediate argumentation or backup data to express the expectation. The tendency is that expectation is close to prayers in our context. For instance, Ibu Bapak, we have rapat RT, for instance. Pak RT may, say something like, Alhamdulillah RT kita tahun ini mendapat kucuran dana 400 juta rupiah. Mudah-mudahan 400 juta rupiah ini atau diharapkan 400 juta rupiah ini cukup untuk memperbaiki gorong-gorong sini, gorong-gorong situ, gorong-gorong sana, dan lain-lain, membangun ini, membangun itu, pengecetan ini, pengecetan itu. And sometimes, and probably also most of the times, the expression of the expectation, just like doa, prayers, is done without any immediate data, immediate evidence, immediate argumentation, immediate calculation. Probably Pak RT does not need to provide any results of calculation bahwa gorong-gorong sini ukurannya sekian membutuhkan dana sekian, gorong-gorong sana ukurannya sekian membutuhkan dana sekian, pengecetan sana membutuhkan dana sekian, in total then harusnya harus cukup. Without any calculation like that, without any immediate data like that, we can say mudah-mudahan 400 juta rupiah cukup. And this kind of practice is brought over to our academic text in English, resulting in the many uses of expectations or many expressions of expectations without immediate argumentation, without immediate backup, without immediate calculation, without immediate data, without immediate evidence. And that is part of our culture. And with the use of corpus, then we can, provide, we can strengthen our belief about that issue. That when we believe that there is a kind of transfer or interference from our cultural norms into our English, then we can provide data if we use corpus. Okay, let's move on. This is an example of unsupported expectation. This study is expected to be beneficial for textbook writers to write better quality textbook. So there is no immediate support in this case. There is no immediate support why we expect that this study is beneficial. In other words, even without doing any research, you may still say this study is expected to be beneficial. Without doing any real research, you may still say this because expectation is like prayers. So you may expect, what do you call, miracle from God because we believe in God, right? So even without any rationalization, we may still expect, we may still pray to God, right? Expectation is close to that, and that's part of our culture. Okay, let's move on. Okay, this is a table showing a comparative data, Ibu Bapak. Once we were concerned with the use of expectation here, and we focus on checking the use of the word expect and hope, and we also did some kind of cross comparison with the existing corpora. We analyzed C-Smile, our own corpus, and we compared with MICAS, that is a corpus available at the Language Institute of the University of Michigan, and BAWE, I don't remember where it is available. If I'm not mistaken, that is in England, BAWE. And okay, support base. We have a smaller number in C-Smile because C-Smile is by Indonesian students. I mean, this English text by Indonesian students. And as I said before, the Indonesian culture influences a lot, relatively strongly in the, what do you call, manifestation of English texts. Support base, very small, 17 something. Hollow or unsupport base, 94%, quite big in number. But MICAS, that is by academics in America, in the United States. Support base, bigger in percentage, 58 something. And hollow or unsupport base, quite small, 8.9. PWA, support base, quite big. Hollow and support, quite small, 2.8. Hope, well, 1.3 in C-Smile, 3.2 in C-Smile, which is unsupport based. In MICAS, 5.3, 1.8. Smaller in terms of hollow expectations or unsupport expectations by native speakers of English. Bigger in number of the support base. And we, among Indonesian students, the figure is the opposite. Support base is smaller compared to unsupport base. In BWA, the word hope, we could not find any. All right, let's move on to the next slide, Pak Ariadi. So my impression is that I feel that many of the students, Indonesian students' expectations in their academic texts are actually not expected in terms of academic writing. I mean, compared to how native speakers of English use their expectations. Because most of the time, the Indonesian students use unsupport-based expectations. Probably because we believe in God more compared to, American students or international students in general. So we may, expect miracle to happen, just like in prayers. So prayers do not need any plan, any evidence, any argumentation, right? We simply believe in God and we may expect miracle to take place. Okay, so that is how I understand this kind of situation. Okay, let's move on, Ibu Bapak. So what is corpus? Probably you've been asking in your mind along my presentation, along my long presentation. So what is corpus? Let's move on. Resan Baharyadi. Okay, basically a corpus refers to linguistic data or data bank. A linguistic data bank, Ibu Bapak. There's the simple understanding of what is meant by corpus. Of course, some people may also add with some kind of other characteristics like systematization, etc., etc. You may refer to your understanding about research methodology to add more criteria to provide the definition of what is meant by corpus. But in general, basically, corpus refers to linguistic data or linguistic data bank. Okay, let's move on. So in the past, corpus was not necessarily digitized. In the past, we also dealt with corpus. But the point is that in the past, we didn't deal with the corpus in a digital way. But these days, along the technological advancement, then corpus refers to digitized linguistic data. Prasan Baharyadi. So digitization here means, well, easiness in terms of storage. I mean, ease for storage and also ease for retrieval for the purpose of analysis. So these two issues are quite essential in our understanding about corpus or corpus linguistics. And let's press on, Baharyadi. Okay. Okay, well, actually, in my own computer, I have another slide at least. I have another slide because this is the old version of my PPT that was used by Baharyadi. So there's Ibu Bapak, what I can say about the introductory session on corpus linguistics. Let me add with the missing slide. What I have in the missing slide is that there are two issues in corpus linguistics. I mean, two main issues. There is corpus building and corpus analysis. So those two issues are quite important in our understanding about corpus linguistics and for the next steps in our workshop. Okay, so that's it for the first session, and I hope I exceeded the time. I think I exceeded the time. Yeah. I exceeded the time, so I didn't keep the time right.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Should we continue to the second session, or we have a breakup for the question answer?
Maybe questions, yeah.
Please take some questions first, and let me try to, restart my computer. Hopefully, after restarting, then it will be normal.
Yep.
But keep first. Let me come back to the Zoom room after I restart my computer.
Yes. All right, Bapak and Ibu, thank you very much for Professor Dr. Yazid Bastami for the first speaker, the first material on epitomizing corpora, as well as on how the corpora can be used for language teachers. While waiting for Pak Yazid, I would like to accept if you have any questions or comments first, probably if you have any while we are waiting for Pak Yazid. You can directly type it in the chat box or turn on your microphone and I will write it down for your question or your comments. Thank you so much. Silakan, Bapak Ibu. We have one questions in the chat box, and I have another questions in my WhatsApp. Let me check it. But you are more than welcome if you want to write down there. So in the first presentations, Pak Yazid talks about the benefits and the use of corpus linguistics for language teachers. Pak Yazid discussed about the context-free or context-bound linguistics, as well as how we collect the data for our research as well as our teaching, whether the data should be from the field, or it should be from top down from your books or your guidelines, and so on and so forth. So Pak Yazid also discussed about whether corpus linguistics can be considered as a method or a branch of linguistics, and also Pak Yazid also discussed about empirical research and the concepts of IMRAD C in English language teaching. And Pak Yazid also stated that corpus linguistics basically is a method rather than a branch of linguistics. So that's why many of the teachers do not really learn about corpus linguistics in their study. So yesterday, Pak Yazid, Pak Harya, Afifah, and also me as well, we present a paper in ISOLEC 2021 regarding the finding of our workshops, which is quite interesting. I will show it to you now while waiting for Pak Yazid turning on the computer again, getting back with us. This is quite interesting survey. So allow me to share it with you. Sorry. This is what we discussed yesterday. So there is basically a survey study which we will conduct with about 27 EFL teachers in Malang. So some findings include that most teachers do not really know about corpus linguistics, and only about 1/3 of them know about corpus linguistics before. So from 27, it's about 9 teachers understand about corpus linguistics. And the next one of teachers who use corpus linguistics, about 29%, but we see that there are more responses on it. Only 1/3 of them used corpus linguistics. So imagine that probably about 4 to 5 teachers using or basically using the concepts of corpus linguistics in their teaching. We see that probably there are some mismatch between corpus linguistics concepts or our understanding as a teachers with what stated in the curriculum, and so that's why it's a bit difficult to modify our teaching materials to meet with this kind of concept. But corpus linguistic is one of the trend in the linguistic, and it's really interesting. And we will be discuss about some interesting concept in the next 2 sessions of our workshop. And I see that Pak Yazid is come back with us, and I will return the sessions to Pak Yazid. Bapak, we have 2 questions in 3 questions, I think. 3 questions in the chat box. The first one is from Ibu Diana from SMK Negeri 11 Malang. Does it mean that the hollow expectation is weak? I'm sorry, Bapak, do you plan to answer it one by one or?
Yeah, one by one, please.
Okay, yes. From Budiana from SMK Negeri 11, does it mean the hollow expectation is weak, What do you think about the expectation in our English language teaching in secondary school level? Is it a support based or a hollow based? Silakan Bapak.
Okay. Yes, Butiana, thank you for the question. The answer is yes. The tendency of the expression of our expectations tend to show our weak situation in our academic writing. Well, the example I presented was based on academic writing, Bapak. So it shows our weak positions of the use of expectations in our academic context. But of course, in our own culture, it doesn't matter that we use that kind of practice of showing expectation. My point here is that, you know, I use this data to, what do you call, as my leverage, my capital, my bekal, to provide corrective feedback to my students, particularly those writing master's thesis, writing undergraduate theses, master theses, also doctoral dissertations, because most of the students are also Indonesians, having the same cultural backgrounds, right, Ibu Bapak? So in my supervision, there is a tendency that I would comment on that tendency of the students. The students tend to use that kind of expression, expected, without immediate argumentation, without immediate evidentiality, without immediate, what do you call, backup, but they express their expectation. In that sense, then, their expectation in the academic text sounds like their expectation in their private room when they pray. And that is a kind of mismatch, right? That is a kind of mismatch. So I use this to provide the students with corrective feedback. So my expectation based on this data is that the students build in their own understanding, build what I said before, comparative outlook. When they have conversations in Bahasa Indonesia with their friends, it is no problem at all when they use that kind of hollow expectations a lot. But when they write in academic pieces of writing, particularly using English, then they need to switch from the Indonesian practice to more English-oriented expectations, which should be based on arguments, on data, on evidentiality or evidence, etc., etc. So by having that comparative outlook, then the students can juggle from Indonesian cultural norms to English cultural norms. If they don't juggle, then probably, well, let me just use the Indonesian expectations in my English texts. If that is done, then their decision is informed decision. I do it on purpose. That can be a kind of, what do you call, creativity in using language, not using expectation because that is the only way, the only thing they know. Another example, Ibu Bapak, once I also analyzed corpus, particularly related to the use of titles, Ibu Bapak. In Bahasa Indonesia, we are accustomed to, write the titles. Terima kasih saya ucapkan kepada pembimbing saya, Bapak Haji Nanang Zubaidi, SPD, SS, MA, PhD, komplit begitu. Dan itu di teks berbahasa Inggris oleh native speakers, biasanya model begitu, itu gak model, tapi itu model di antara kita gitu. Di bahasa Indonesia itu model, kemudian terbawa dalam bahasa Inggris. Saya menganalisis teks acknowledgements, ucapan terima kasih dalam tes berbahasa Inggris, itu hampir semua begitu. Thanks to my supervisor, Prof. Hajah, bla bla bla, MA, PhD. Complete. So academic title-nya juga dipakai, social religious title-nya juga dipakai, hajah dan lain-lain. Haji, kalau hajinya 5 kali ya ditulis 5 barangkali, ha gitu barangkali.
Kalau Ustadz Pak, Prof.
itu contoh ekstrimnya Ibu Bapak. Nah, perkara apakah kita akan menggunakan itu secara sengaja? Kalau sengaja nggak masalah, berarti sudah sadar bahwa okay, native speakers of English usually do not do it like this. But because I'm an Indonesian, let me do it this way. I'm using an Indonesian norm. I do it on purpose. Kalau itu nggak masalah, on purpose, karena sangat sadar. Maunya ingin menampilkan keindonesiaannya, nggak masalah. Cuma selama ini ketika saya wawancara mahasiswa, seringkali itu karena tidak sadar, dipikir yang begitu yang sudah benar. Ala Inggrisnya juga begitu, dipikir begitu. Whereas in English usually, even though you know that your supervisor is professor, let's say the name of your professor, your supervisor is William O'Grady, for instance. Then usually the word William, the nickname is Bill, right? You may write in your thesis, I would express my deepest thanks to my supervisor, Bill. Gitu aja. Bisa begitu di konteks Amerika, konteks Australia, konteks Inggris. Meskipun kita tahu gelarnya Pak William O'Grady itu, ya dia profesor, bahkan kadang PhD-nya double, kadang masternya double, tapi juga tidak harus ditulis semua seperti kereta api kayak di Indonesia. Bisa saja hanya menulisnya thanks to my supervisor, my excellent supervisor, Bill. Kenapa pakai nickname? Barangkali norma yang dia pakai adalah dia ingin menunjukkan kedekatan dia dengan supervisornya. Nah, kalau kita begitu, thanks to my excellent supervisor, Yazid. Nah, di antara kita akan mengatakan, "Oh, arek kudu." Nah, ini comparative outlook Ibu Bapak, dan saya yakin banyak hal yang bersifat komparatif begini yang perlu diadres oleh Ibu Bapak sebagai guru bahasa, apalagi kalau itu terkait dengan hal-hal yang bersifat pragmatik, yang itu terkait kesopanan, dan kesopanannya bisa beda-beda. Oke. Itu pertanyaan pertama. Pertanyaan kedua apa, Pak Nanang? I'm switching to Bahasa Indonesia. Do you feel allergic when I'm using Bahasa Indonesia? Pak Ali? Pak Ustadz Ali?
Ya, Pak.
Should I use English or should I use Bahasa Indonesia? Probably because all of you are English teachers, then you feel allergic if I use Bahasa Indonesia. Okay, the next question, Pak Nanang. Hopefully I've already answered the first question. Yes, Pak Nanang? Pak Nanang, you still muted. Can you please read for me the next question?
Yes, sorry, I haven't turned on my mic. Forgot it. Thank you. Thank you, Ibu Diana. Do you have any comments? All right, so we will take the second questions. There are two questions which is quite similar, Bapak, from Pak Slamet Mujiono. How can we use the corpus linguistic in our teaching and learning process? In that way, in what way? An example. So it's quite similar to the question from Ibu Istu Handayani. Bagaimana, how the corpus linguistic support our meaningful teaching and learning in SMA or SMK. So basically how we can use corpus linguistics into creating a meaningful teaching and learning process in SMA. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Nanang. I don't think I'm going to answer these two questions directly. I hope these two questions will be answered along the way through our sessions.
Yep, because we will have two sessions, and this first session is conceptual, and the second session is more practice-based. And after that, we will be able to answer these questions, because this is a really big question. But I definitely will save these questions from Pak Slamet and Ibu Istu if you don't mind.
Okay, yes.
The
yes.
third question, which has been discussed before in one of the slides, Papa, is if corpus is regarded as a research method, could you please show us the steps or the flow into using it as a research method? Thank you.
Okay, Pak Nanang will take that, I believe. But my point here is that when we talk about corpus itself, that is part of the research methodology, particularly that is at the data management part. So that is the data management part. As I said before, I missed one of the slide, that the main issues in corpus or corpus linguistics include corpus building and corpus analysis. These two have to do with the question, the last question. Yeah, so
Yes.
I believe Pak Nanang will also address that issue later.
Yes. Yes. In the second workshop, the second session of workshop, we will discuss on how we can use corpus linguistic as to improve our academic research, academic writing, as well as the research, and it will be discussed there on how we can use it as a research methods. Please join us until the end of the sessions if possible.
And along the way,
yes.
I guess in my second session, I will also touch on that little bit along the way.
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to touch on one of the examples in dealing with, real English language teaching and learning, but from a different, point of view, and of course you can reflect on what you have been dealing with in your profession as language teachers.
Yes.
As I said before, I'm not really into English language teaching and learning, Ibu Bapak, so forgive me if I cannot answer your question directly. But I believe I'm going to touch on that, even though in passing, in the next session of my presentation.
All right. Baik. Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for the questions. I think that's enough for the question and answer. While you are taking your yes, please.
There is a question from Buriska. Hasn't been answered yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I need to refresh my chat box. I couldn't see it. Would you please? Okay. Sorry. Oh yeah. Yes. I can see it now. Buriska Merita. As teacher, which one is more beneficial in doing research, context-free or context-bound linguistics?
Okay. I think actually I've touched on that in passing in my presentation. Well, the tendency is that we are dealing with the language use, Ibu Bapak. As we are dealing with the language use, then most of the time we're dealing with the empirics or empirical data. In that sense, then, when we deal with empirical data, the tendency is that we are dealing with context-bound research or context-bound linguistic research. Okay, so basically when we are talking about corpus, that is about context-bound linguistic research, Ibu Bapak.
Right.
So now, from now on, you may forget about context-free linguistics. I touch on that simply as comparison, Ibu Bapak. In my understanding, we can strengthen our understanding by comparison. So that's why in my presentation, I use comparison, Ibu Bapak. So from now on, you may forget, you may simply dismiss context-free linguistics. It's not really close to the professional world of language teachers. Context-bound linguistics is closer to the professional world of language teachers. That is my conviction. That's my belief, Ibu Bapak.
All right. Thank you so much, Bapak. Okay, let's return to the second.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Let's return to the second sessions from Pak Yazid. Pak Yazid will discuss more about the research methods and some findings regarding the corpus linguistics and the developments in our local context. Definitely quite interesting for many of us. Pak Yazid, time is yours, Bapak.
Thank you once again. Hopefully it works. Hopefully there is no technological glitch here. A technical glitch. Does it appear on your screen, Ibu Bapak?
Yes, but small.
Wait. I've already activated the slideshow. Is it bigger, Ibu Bapak?
But small, but still readable.
Let me press on the slideshow. Okay, hopefully it works. All right, Ibu Bapak, now the next session on my part would be epitomizing corpora, Ibu Bapak. You know what is meant by epitomizing? Exemplifying corpora. Okay, let me move on. Hopefully it works, not like the previous session. Okay, in the previous presentation, we came across terms like see smile, cinta, koka, micas, BAWE, etc. And basically, those names or acronyms refer to the corpora. The names depend on the creativity of the creators, of course. And this, as a reminder, corpus is the singular and corpora is the plural form, Ibu Bapak. So when I say corpora, it means that is the plural of corpus. I'm not talking about korpus, Ibu Bapak. I'm talking about corpus. So there have been quite a number of corpora made available to the public, Ibu Bapak. If you check the internet, then you may check quite many corpora available, just like the corpora of English learners. I don't remember the name, but if you check the website of, oh my goodness, I forgot the name. There's a university in Sweden. I don't remember exactly. Is that ULB of Sweden? That is the name of university. You may find a corpus made available to the public there. I mean, to the public, just like us, we can also get access to that. Well, we also have this kind of categorization, general corpora and specialized corpora, and there are many other categorization of corpora actually, but these two are quite popular, and I think basically we need to also be familiar with this. And in terms of retrieval, as I said before, there are two issues in talking about corpus or corpus linguistics. There is corpus building and corpus analysis. And of course, corpus analysis, of course, requires retrieval of the data. So in terms of the retrieval, some available corpora are supplied with their own software operationalized online. If you check COCA, Corpus of Contemporary American English, it is hosted by Brigham Young University in Utah in the United States. Then you can get access to COCA, and at the same time, you can get access to COCA by operationalizing the software already inherent or built inherently with the COCA when COCA is made available to the public. So it is one possibility that the corpus is made to the public, made available to the public all together with the software to operationalize, how should I say, to help the public to get access to the COCA. So there is some kind of software already attached there so that we can navigate around the corpus using the software. Oh my goodness. It stops again, Ibu Baba. I cannot move on with the slideshow. Wait. Let me do it. Hopefully it works. Let me do it manually.
Yes, can see that, Pak.
You can see it?
Yes.
But on my own screen, it is still the first slide, Ibu Bapak. Ah, okay. Is it readable, Ibu Bapak?
Yes.
Well, forgive me. So we were here, and now let's move on to this. But some other corpora are not supplied with the software. This means that the other corpora require the use of independent software. And Pak Nanang will talk about the software here and how to operationalize the software for the analysis, Ibu Bapak. And the available software can be categorized into two, commercial and non-commercial. If it is commercial, of course, it means that we need to purchase, which means that we need to spend our money, and non-commercial means free. And now let me tell you this, Ibu Bapak. Well, Pak Nanang has already mentioned that I used to be the coordinator of ROLLING. ROLLING refers to or stands for Research on Linguistics, Research Group on Linguistics. I used to be the coordinator for quite some time, starting in 2015 and ending early this year. Okay, I used to be the coordinator. And we've got several projects. One of the projects, as you have heard, is CSMILE, that is Corpus of State University of Malang Indonesian Learners English. We've got several words and several tokens. This is a technical term, probably Pak Nanang will talk about that, if not, probably by Afifa.
Yep.
And we also have got Cinta, Corpus of Indonesian Texts in Academia. And we also have Speaks, Universitas Negeri Malang, spoken English in academic contexts. Context using K, Ibu Bapak. So giving a name is suka-suka kita, Ibu Bapak. As I said before, the name depends on the creativity of the creator, Ibu Bapak. So the first time we came across this name, CSMILE, I mean, we decided on having this, still using State University of Malang. But then after that, there was some kind of, what do you call, some time lapse, and there was a policy by the Rectorate of Universitas Negeri Malang that the word Universitas Negeri Malang does not need to be translated into State University of Malang anymore. So we use Universitas Negeri Malang, the real name, without any translation into English. So when we decided on having the corpus of spoken English, then we had that kind of context. So that's why we use UM instead of State University of Malang. So UM, Universitas Negeri Malang, speaks spoken English in academic contexts. We want to have the word speaks. UM speaks to the world. UM berbicara pada dunia, right? But that stands for context using K. So there is a twisted way of writing contexts. And then sibling, in English, in social linguistics, we are quite accustomed to the word siblings, right? And we have sibling, corpus on bilingual learners' languages. And this mainly also spoken, I believe. Okay. So the question about the example of how we can make use of the corpora, well, mainly a closer example would be the one in relation to Speaks here. We are going to come across that. Okay, So these are some of the lists, I mean, some of the publications that we have made out of our research enrolling research group on linguistics. We've got this third person point of view in EFL academic writing, ventriloquism. I mentioned that in my slide, but Pa Haryadi didn't have the link because it was the what do you call, the old version of the file. Ventriloquism, third point of view in academic writing. Well, as I said before, I've got concern around comparative outlook. Another issue in academic writing by Indonesian students is that I've got the sense that Indonesian students tend to use a third point of view in referring to themselves as the writers, as the researchers. They would say the researcher, the researcher, the researcher, to refer to the writer, the researcher, him or herself, among Indonesian students. Whereas on the other side, academic writing by native speakers of English tend to use first person of view to refer to the writer himself or herself. I, or we in terms of collaborative writing. But among us, we tend to use the researcher. And that's true with Bahasa Indonesia. In Bahasa Indonesia, we have peneliti, for instance, Pak Ali Mukti writing the master's thesis. Probably he used the researcher at that time, probably, I don't know. So I tried to analyze this based on the corpus, the collection of, theses written by Indonesian students. And we have come to this kind of research result, Corpus Linguistic research result, and we published this in the International Journal of Pervanika, Journal of Social Sciences and Humanities, published by University Putra Malaysia. And actually, this was a research project by an undergraduate student, that is by Leli Triwijayanti, supervised by by Nuren Jayanwar and me, and then examined by Bu Utami Widyati, and we made collaborative publication. Posawalian, this is also based on corpus, the corpus by Bu Nuren Jayanwar. And another publication, C-Smile, COCA, and BNC. C-Smile, our corpus, and then COCA, American corpus, hosted by Brigham Young University in Utah, and then BNC, British National Corpus. So actually this was based on an undergraduate thesis by Rahma Martining Tias, supervised by Punuran January and me, and also the examiner was Bu Utami at the time. And the focus was on amplifiers and adjective collocations. So the concern is about how natural we as learners of English use collocations compared to the way how native speakers of English use adjective collocations and also amplifiers. So again, there's an example which has close relationship to the business of English language teaching. I mean, the results of our research can be referred to by practitioners in the areas of English language teaching, not purely linguistics. But the way how we do the research was linguistic. The way how we did, the way how we did the research was linguistic in a sense. But the result can be, beneficial for English, particularly English lecturers, English faculty members, English professors, those concerned with, providing corrective feedback on the students' writing performance. Another issue, this one I just mentioned, it is expected, so between religiosity and evidentiality, our research project based on that, and we made presentation in an international conference on language, society, and culture in Asian context. Okay, another. This is based on sibling. I used to remember sibling. The fourth point of our project. Preliminary evidence of transfer in the acquisition of sentential negation of English and multilingual Indonesian children in school contexts. And this research was mainly carried out in the context of Sekolah SD Lab UM. So the data was collected there. So empirical data from the field. Learner Corpora, their potentials for the language learning classroom in Indonesian primary school contexts. Okay, so Ibu Bapak, if you'd like to read more to find the answers to examples of how we can get the benefits of corpus linguistics, you may read this, Ibu Bapak, because we are dealing with a learner corpora. Our corpus is based on the learner language production. And I believe you all language teachers deal with the language production of your students, no matter level, okay? Another example is this: students discuss strategies in classroom debate performance. This is also corpus-based, corpus linguistics research. This one is based on UM Speaks. Indonesian teachers directives in English language classrooms, Ibu Bapak. You may do some kind of reflection of your own language, Ibu Bapak. So you may record your own language when you teach English, and also the students' language in your teaching and learning activities. Just like this one, this also based on UM Speaks. As I said before, I may touch on this, and this is one of the examples. Indonesian teachers directives. The directives here is mainly about the instructions, how we instruct the students in the classroom teaching and learning activities. You know, probably we are not aware that some of our directives, some of our instructions tend to be quite threatening, Ibu Bapak. Probably that's why we are not aware of the situation. But through this research, we came to an understanding that ternyata gitu ya saya pas ngajar. Ternyata terlalu mengerikan ya bagi siswa, karena terlalu tus, terlalu direct instruksinya, kurang lembut atau apa, whatever. It can be the linguistic properties, it can be the extra linguistic properties, whatever they are. So we may do this kind of recording, and then we try to transcribe the data, and then we store in our collection, and that is the data bank, and that is the corpus. And once we are done with the corpus building, then actually the research projects can be open. Okay, 1 year probably you are interested in this. The next year you are interested in a different angle of the corpus. Next year you also concerned with a different angle of the corpus. Okay. Directives in academic writing, engaging or threatening? It depends on the data, right? Some can be engaging, some can be threatening, and you may also complement this with, let's say, interviews with your students, Ibu Bapak. Who knows? You may ask, what if it is like this? Does it sound threatening to you, or does it sound engaging to you? If it is engaging, that is positive. If it's threatening, usually it is negative, Ibu Bapak. Another kind, cultural negotiation. But again, this is corpus-based. The classroom discourse here has been digitized as a corpus, linguistic data collection in a corpus. This is also true with this active and passive voice constructions by Indonesian student writers. Probably, Ibu Bapak, because you teach narrative text, probably, and you ask your students to write the projects in their computers, and you've got the files, then you can just simply collect the files into your data bank, and that becomes your corpus. And you may analyze, the use of tenses in the students' narrative texts, whether the tenses tend to be past tense or tend to be present tense, whatever. And you have the data, you have the evidence. Without the evidence, usually our understanding tends to be simply intuitive. And if it is intuitive, that is not quite academic. And you may make it more academic by having the empirical data from your corpus analysis. Okay, what aspects of questions do teachers give attention to? Probably you may find in your own data, based on your own corpus, you realize that, my questions tend to, instigate only lower thinking level. And by having the data, then you need to make some kind of changes in your own teaching by also generating more high level of thinking kinds of questions. But probably without doing any research of your own data, then probably you don't have the data, and your teaching business remains the same over and over the years. It means that there is no significant improvement if you don't do this kind of corpus data analysis or corpus linguistic research related to your own data. But by having this kind of example, for instance, then you find your own data and you know what to do to make some kind of revision of your own teaching and learning activities. Sorry, teaching activities particularly. Let me just skip this. Let me just skip this. It has been published. Okay, so these are the examples, and I can just skip this. Let me just come to this point, Ibu Bapak. This example, Si Smile and Cinta. Now there's more about the information about the behind the scene, Ibu Bapak. So in terms of the initiatives, it started from our narrative inquiry, observations, and reflections as academics in the English department, Faculty of Letters, Universitas Negeri Malang. And the purpose, well, I think I've talked about the purposes, the benefits. Let me just skip this. Okay, this is about Si Smile. So we basically collected undergraduate theses submitted to the department in this year, in this year, in this year, in this year. So we started the project in 2013, and there were 3 undergraduate students willing to join our project. So these 3 undergraduate students took different research questions or different focuses, but all of the 3 undergraduate students dealt with the same corpus, that is Si Smile. And we improved the Si Smile in 2014, we improved in 2015, we improved in 2016. All of these projects were supported with a generous financial support from Dikti. Yeah, we were lucky enough at that time because we were successful in securing the funding, and we could also involve undergraduate students to carry out the research. And it was good for the completion of the undergraduate studies, and it was also good for us because we could instill the research skills among the students. At the same time, we could also complete our research reports. So it was a kind of, what do you call, mutual symbiosis. back to this. Now, this is about cinta, Ibu Bapak. So the following years, we were concerned with, academic texts written in Bahasa Indonesia. So that's why, even though you're from the English department, because we didn't see any movement from the people from the Indonesian department to deal with the corpus building, then we took the initiative. So we had Cinta, Corpus of Indonesian Texts in Academia, and we could do some kind of comparison. So we were, suspicious about particular writing performance in English. And we suspected that it was because of the Indonesian norms, and we checked the Indonesian texts for comparison. And the comparison, of course, brought us to more understanding about the issue, because we, found more data. So through the journey of Sismail and Cinta, the result of the research might provide not only insights for language learners to use the language, but also to develop materials to help students improve their capacity in writing. So if you're dealing with the Corpus Linguistics project, you may also deal with, the results may also be beneficial in terms of materials development, Ibu Bapak. Well, most of the time among Indonesian English teachers, probably when they write, when they develop materials, let's say they write book, for instance, sometimes they don't really use English as that used by native speakers of English. Sometimes the use of, the preposition is not that accurate, etc., etc., because that is simply based on their own understanding about English or their own intuition about English. But through corpus linguistics approach or techniques, then actually you can check the accuracy of the use of your own English, Ibu Bapak. I still remember, but this is probably not really relevant to corpus talk today. But I still remember several years ago when there was, PPG, PLPG in Batu. I found a lot of the participants, namely English language teachers in Indonesia, particularly in East Java here. They still have problems, with English. Even the pronunciation of put, for instance. At a time, I found a lot of the language teachers, English language teachers, pronounce the word put as pat. And they said, when I made some kind of correction, they said, loh, kalau cut ini kan cut, Pak. Kenapa ini jadi put? Kalau jawabannya saya mengikuti Pak Jokowi, jawaban saya, ya nggak tahu. Itu kan konvensinya orang Inggris. Nah, what I mean is, by, getting close to the corpus or the corpora, then, well, in my own understanding and in my own belief is that there is a tendency that we also tend to be closer to English as the way it is used by native speakers of English. Okay, so that said, Pak Nanang, Ibu Bapak, my session, what time is it?
Yes, it's 11:14. I think we can comment on one or two questions, Bapak. So there is a questions from the Ul Milal from Win Sunanampel. Thank you so much. Two questions. Can we create corpus for our research by ourselves? If so, what are the steps to create it? Second, maybe conduct a research using the corpora of your projects, including Sismail, Sinta, being Speaks as our research data. If so, how to get them? Terima kasih, Bapak. Monggo.
Okay, Pak Milal. How are you, Pak Milal? Pak Ustadz Milal. Can we create corpus for our research by ourselves? The answer is definitely yes. And basically nowadays, research in the area of linguistics always use this. I mean, basically the corpus here is the data. I mean, you know, before the word corpus linguistics came to the fore, becoming popular among researchers, but actually we also dealt with corpus, but in a manual way at that time. Now, as we are now in a digital world, then the corpus we are dealing with becomes digitized. So basically, we create corpus as we create our data bank. If so, what are the steps to create it? Okay, well, the steps can be many. And of course, you can just, you know, what do you call, navigate on the characteristics of good samples, etc., etc. So you need to activate your knowledge about, let's say, sampling techniques, etc., etc., and then you decide on which aspects of the language to deal with, and that become your corpus. Alternatively, you don't create yourself, alternatively, but you get access to the available corpora already created by other people, just like Kota, just like Micah, just like BAWE. Or another alternative is just like what has been done by my students. They did some kind of comparison. They compared the self-created corpus, that is our self-created corpus, C-Smile, and the available corpora. There is also another possibility. And for language teachers, I guess comparison here is the key, I guess, because we are non-native speakers of English, and we have, to some extent, we have some kind of obligation to escort our students to be as close as the native speakers of English in terms of language, but not necessarily in terms of sensitive norms. Some sensitive norms can be dismissed from our discussion. Maybe conduct research using the corpora of your project, C-Smile. Unfortunately, not yet, Pak Milal. Unfortunately, not yet. C-Smile is still in progress. Cinta is also still in progress. Sibling, all of our corpora are still in progress. Hopefully, we may come to a point where we can decide on making them public. We've been thinking about that. But unfortunately, it is not yet available for public. But check the other corpus by Fakultas Sastra. I was also involved in the project, Pak Milal, and it has already secured, what do you call, hak cipta. So probably it has been made available, but that is at the faculty level. I don't remember the name, but I was part of that project as well. And yeah, it was right from the beginning. Our understanding about corpus was already read to some extent, and then we did that kind of project, and then we had that intention right from the start, that is to make it public. But Cinta, Ismail, and the rest that we have are not public yet.
Yes, I think that answer also could respond Pak Selamat Mujiono's questions regarding whether we can use some of our current corpora data for our research. But anyway, we can also add that basically this workshop itself, one of the aims of this workshop itself is to
encourage
help. Yes, to encourage the teacher to create their own corpus, and we will have a small project in between the first session and the second sessions to develop our corpus. We will together build a corpus, and then we can use it together. I think that's the idea. Hopefully, we can realize it. I will discuss it in a bit at the end of the sessions.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Pak Nanang. I think my session My session already consumes your time allotment.
No, thank you very much.
Back to
That's
you.
really interesting. If you still have any questions regarding topics discussed by Professor Yazid Bastami, please write it down in the chat. But Yazid will stay with us until the end of the sessions, so don't worry. If you have something, just write it down in the chat box. Right, directly going to the third session, the third topics, which will be delivered by Afifa Ainia and me myself. We will be talking about some corpus linguistic skills, and there will be some applications of the skills, including knowing what is the concordance, and we will try to practice a little bit because these skills will be used mainly for our second sessions later on in the second sessions. I mean the second sessions of the workshop, the offline sessions one. So I think it will be beneficial if we learn slightly in a bit about the practice of these things, because just to get a feel of how the corpus linguistic and what we are going to do in our second session. So allow me to share my screens. Mbak Afifah will be helping me in this presentation as well. So thank you for your help, Mbak Afifah.
Yes, sir.
Afifah is doing a study with Dr. Suharyadi, and on a topics comparing two corpora, that is Kota versus Sismail. So one of them is a Kota, is a very popular corpus, and it is publicly available. And we will also discuss some of the publicly available corpus in this presentation as well. So hopefully that will give you some ideas that we can use readily available corpus. Some of them are open for public. It's like Corpora Kota, Corpus of Contemporary Americans. Then Mikasi is for Speech Act, and also others, including BNC, British National Corpus. These are quite interesting. Then we can share the information later on. Sorry, taking a bit longer time. Okay, this is my slide. So we would like to introduce corpus linguistic skills, including some really very general one. I think concordance, collocations, and quick key item in context will be discussed here. So to add some discussions by Professor Yazid before, we use corpora to study language in a broad sense. Some functions or some use which theoretically I found in previous studies include that we used corpora to test existing linguistics or writing theory or hypothesis, to generate and verify new linguistic hypotheses, because we, for example, we have certain hypotheses regarding Bahasa Walikan in Malang. And so that's why we try to compile a text or recordings into a corpora, and we see whether our hypothesis is correct or not, because language keep changing, and we always need to test and to verify our hypothesis, because that's common knowledge, and to provide textual evidence in text-based humanities and social science subjects. I highlighted it. It's usually for humanities and social science subject, because corpora is mainly about the language when we discuss corpora in our context here. Why you use corpora? There are some questions regarding this one. So if I got these questions, I would ask back, how do you teachers or how do you language practitioners respond to questions from students on grammar and word meaning? How do you respond to questions on grammar and word meaning usually? Any comments, Bapak and Ibu? Is there any comment? How do you usually respond to questions when your question asks, what your students ask you, for example, should we sit in or sit on a chair? Something like an example used by Pak Yazid. How do you respond to these questions?
If may I
Yes, please.
answer?
Yes, Ibu Yayu.
Nana. Okay.
Yes.
If I sit on means it is on the chair. If I
Right.
sit at mean it is near.
Okay.
So both of them. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And how? Yes. Thank you so much. You're right. How do we come to that conclusions usually? Do you all use your intuitions or books or something else? How do you use it?
Maybe intuition.
Intuitions, yes, our
Yes.
intuitions.
Mm.
Yes. This is one of the resources. So I will cite it here. TIC in 1999 discussed 3 ways in which language teachers can respond to questions on grammar and word meaning. Some 3 ways. Definitely, when we talk about question in grammar and word meaning, usually we talk about prescriptive view. We talk about which one is correct. So just like that questions, which one is correct in this context, for example, sit on a chair or sit in a chair. So the first one would be, we will direct the students to refer to a grammarian or book writer or dictionary, but it has a very short effect. Usually students easily forget these things because they get bored because there is no communications, there is no sense of togetherness between the students and the teacher. The second one is mentioned by Ibu Yayu before, intuitions and training. Usually we were taught by our teacher this way, or we met Bule or foreigners or native speakers of English. We need to define between Bule and native speakers of English, because there are some Indonesians who were born in Australia, and then he became native speakers of Australia without being Bule for his whole lifetime. So these are the intuitions and training. And the third one is concordancing. This is a new trends which is used by some teachers and some language practitioners. The data from the prescriptive using concordancing is slightly more objective, because this is what we got from the data from the field, and we show it to the students, while the data from our intuition and training might change over time. So for example, in the past, we know that when we greet someone at 8 at night, we will greet it using good night, or we met somebody at 9 p.m. in the evening, we will greet it using good night. But later on, we learn from our interactions with the native speakers of English that if we just met with someone at 9 p.m., so we shouldn't greet with a good night, but with a good evening, because we just met him or her. So something like this. Then we get a new training or a new intuitions or new experience which influence our answer. So this one, there is a subjectivity in the intuitions and training. The first and the third one is more objective, but then the third one is a bit short. What do you call it? Like a short effect. There is a short effect. Sometimes it is easier to forget because there is no sense of meetings or togetherness. Additional informations on why we use corpora, because language teacher and experts have only partial knowledge of a language, and we may fail to notice unusual and think of what is possible. We do not consider new words. For example, we do not know that Google, for example, some teachers may not know that Google has been a new verb for like 10 years or from the beginning of the Googles, and Instagrammable has been an adjective for almost 10 years, but we just know it today. So we fail not to notice new things like that. And we cannot quantify our knowledge of language. We didn't know how many percent of English language which we master actually at the moment. So that's why we need something objective like corpora as a tool to help us. So those are advantages. The authenticity is especially for corpora which we develop with our community or with our students, for example. So the teachers and the materials can better describe the language to be acquired and what learners should learn, for example. So we collect students writing, and after that we see what should be thought in the next sessions, what kind of feedback should we give to our students in the next meeting, without like, checking all the assignments from the students one by one. Transparency, corpora can consist of materials produced by learners, so teachers can know the students' weakness. Transparency and authenticity is one of problems in language testing, in teaching, giving a students task. So I think that corpora can, to some extent, can deal with this kind of problems. And also the learner's autonomy, students' life technology. So definitely they can use the corpora to learn themselves. I don't know about the teachers, whether we like the technology or not. So we need to check it later. Right. There are 3 skills which we will discuss in these short sessions. The first one is the most important one, I think, and the easiest one to be found in all types of corpora data is the concordance skills. Concordance is a listing of all instances of a search term, or it can be word, it can be phrase in a corpus. So we will discuss a little bit, and we will try to practice the concordance using freely available corpora. And so this is also to help us to set up our second sessions later on, the offline sessions. So in the concordance, usually 2 terms which we talks mainly is the concordance lines. The lines is the individual search hits, the results which we found, and also the concordancer. The concordancer is the software. As Pak Yazid before discussed, some concordancers are a software attached to a web. Another other concordancers are freely available or paid software like Ankong and Wordsmith and Dart, Scadia. I will introduce Ankong, and Afifa will also show you a sense of Ankong. So we share a link to download Ankong in our Google Drive, but later on I will also share another link here in this presentation as well. So while discussing this, you can also try to download it. This is a portable software, and it should be easy to use because you do not need to install it. So hopefully it will help. But definitely you need to. It requires computer. So because it's not really applications workable in your handphone, so it should be using a computer. Right, the Wordsmith is a freemium software, so you can have a free trial, as well as you can also improve it to the premium one. So we will use the cheapest one, the free available Ankong, as well as the concordance available in the web for free. Right, the concordancer, the software is to search or to access and analyze language from a corpus. And we will use here 2 types of concordancer, the free available web-based concordancer using englishcorpora.org, as well as software which you need to download to have it in your computer. You cannot run it online. So this is the Ankong. We need this type of software to read our data. So the corpora is data, any kind of data, writing data or spoken data you collect from other resources, especially the specific one. It can be general, definitely can be general, but usually when we refer to corpora, usually you need to have specifications. If it is a general corpora, you need to have like a split of this corpora into categories. which will be helpful for your practice. Otherwise, it will be like less meaningful to your practice as a teacher or as a researcher. So we need to see the relation between words, combinations of the words using this particular software, which we will call concordancer. Next, keywords. I will give you like a theoretical definitions first, and after that we will jump to the practice. So please bear with me. The next one is quick. We usually call it KIC as well, KIIC. Quick is keyword in context, or when you call it KIC, it's a key item in context. So when you use the concordancer, you input your corpora into concordancer and start searching for something, for informations there. Do not imagine a corpora like a Google search engine. It's a bit difficult to compare between both of them. They have some similarities, but anyway, quick or concordancer is like a very simple software. It doesn't have a natural language processing ability as high or as advanced as Google search engine. So it's a bit different, but definitely it can find, for example, if you want to find word A and word B, it can find it from your data, but it is only limited to the data tabulated or inserted into the concordancer. It doesn't tabulate other data not organized or archived by the search engine. So we can see the surrounding of the words to the left and the right. So this is what we call by context in here. It is not the context, for example, like can you pass the salt? Okay, something like that. Or other expressions, do you mind passing the salt, or pass the salt? It has like different speech act ability, which we call as a IF, the illocutionary force in each. But then the quick cannot describe these things, but definitely it can describe the context. What is the following or the preceding words or characters around the words we want to see. So we use this one to show our students or our audience of research the real examples of language use, what is the real samples of language use, for example, and to discover patterns which govern the use of the items. So for example, like how many sit in and how many sit on, or how many sit up are shown in the actual use of particular language or particular data. The third one is collocations. This is a quite common term, so that's why it's a bit different. I do not introduce it directly. What do you think about the collocations, Bapak and Ibu? What is collocation? Any comments on what is the collocation? When you talk about the combinations of words which is commonly appear or emerge together in certain contexts, that's the collocations. So for example, this is definitions: a series of words or terms that co-occur more often than would be expected by chance. Word plus words, frequent combinations. So for example, a sit plus on plus what kind of words follow that one, what kind of noun, whether this should be animate noun or inanimate noun or any kind of noun, all types of noun. So or sit plus on plus certain combinations. So we see this kind of combinations. Those are collocations, and we will try to discuss it. So next, corpus linguistic, we call it CL here. CL skills can be, as I have mentioned before, we have two types of corpora: readily available corpora and the offline corpora. The readily available corpora is available usually in internet, usually because it's big, usually it's big. And the freely or readily available can be fully free, or it can be freemium. To some extent it's free, but to another extent it's not free. So for example, like Kota, which we will access through english/corpora.org, is a kind of freemium part of this kind of category. The second types of corpora, the offline corpora, is the corpora which we create by ourselves. And to do that, we need to have certain software, the concordancers, which we will use as like NCON concordancer. The readily available corpora has some benefits because usually it also has like tagging. It can be the types of data. It can be part of speech. It can be certain other qualities, which usually will be helpful for you as a teacher or researcher. But definitely because this is available and public data, usually some of them require you to pay a certain amount of money. But I know that one of the corpora, like BNC, British National Corpus, is free for all level. We have a light versions about 22 megabyte, and the big versions about 500 megabytes. But it contains millions of tokens, millions of lemmas in it. So definitely it's worth it. But we will try the second one, the offline corpora, so that we can know our students' ability and we can, cater towards their needs better. So we will try first with the readily available corpora using Kota. If you have access to internet, I want you to go to www.english/corpora.org. We need to sign up for this type. We need to register for this kind of service. So it might need quite a time, but I want you to have a feel of inside it. If you are able and you have access toward your email and internet, please try this one. So I recommend you, for your best experience, use computer rather than the mobile. So I will change my screen and try to share using so we can go to Corpus. Sorry, you can see it here. I will try to log off from my Corpus first. This is the english/corpora.org. I will try to log out from here. All right, so we will try to log in here first. You need to go to English Corpora, and this is the display, the first display. Please let me know from the chat box or turn on your microphone if you have any problems during this one. So this is the display. The English Corpora, english/corpora.org, has various collections of corpus or corpora. We call it corpora for the plural one, which consists of billions. Some of them are in millions words. So as you can see here, there are some which is very huge. iWeb, the intelligent web-based corpus, 14 billion. And we will later on use the corpus of contemporary American English. In the past, like when I did my dissertations in between 2015 to 2019, Kota is one of the most frequently cited from this category of corpus. And this is one of the favorites because you can find some academic English category in it. But right now, English Corpora also has larger corpus, including the Google Books Ngram, but it's only limited for the comparisons. Imagine like it has like 34 billion, 34 miliar kata. So this is larger than any dictionary we have right now. So we will go to the Kota, but before that we need to register. You go to my account. Here is the home. and the corpora will provide you some descriptions of what corpora are there. Users overview, statistics overview, and we go to my account, click register if you haven't had any experience in applying for this web. So we will click the register. I will try to register myself as well. So there will be 3 categories in it. The green one is the one with the largest freely available corpus for University of Professor or graduate students. But definitely this is all of them are in free. So, and the students and teachers can be in either the yellow one or the red one, the lowest level. Try to put your name and full name for your first and last name. So I will try to register myself again. And then you need to put your email. So this is just an example of the email. You can register, you can put your password, you can create your password. Then after that, fill out the country. For example, we have Indonesian here. Then you select your corresponding category, whether you are university professor, graduate students, university professor and teacher, but not in language, or not graduate students. And the last one is students and graduate students. All of them are for free. Don't forget to click you agree with the term and conditions, and put the 5 letters LCGYL and so on. For example, it depends on what kind of problems. And then you click submit. Then after you submit it, you will usually receive email within 1 minute. Let me know if you have any problem up to these steps. So it should definitely not taking too long time for you for doing this. I will try to register with another account so I can follow you. I will consider myself a graduate student or university professor. And if you have a web page or university web page with your name on it, you can insert it here. So I have that one with me, so I can insert it here. But if you don't, let's try together to find something else. If you have your link in the web of your school or your university, you can definitely put the third one, the green one, because it has more it has less restrictions than the red or the yellow one. But I'll try to follow the pace of others with the red one. I agree with the term, then I insert the code, then submit, click submit. Okay, please go back to enter the 5 in the show in blue. Okay, CFKEP. Right. Okay, please use not characters from Java. Okay, sorry. Okay, all right. I got a problem here. I think I need to refresh it once more. Right. All right. You can choose, for example, Indonesia here, and you can choose other or You can definitely change it later on. Okay. Yep. After you register, you will get a notifications that a short email has been sent to your email. So go to your email. Go to your email. Oh, I think I put a wrong email. All right, are you with me? Have you received of email? Right. Let's use my other email, which I have registered. Okay, so I got an email from admin@englishcorpora.org. Maybe you need to check your spam if you do not receive the email. So let's try to continue, but let me know if you still have questions. You just need to click a link over there to confirm your applications. And usually you can use the link until 7 days to register. It should be pretty straightforward. You just need to click it. Then thank you for registering. You can now use the Corpora. Then you can close it and open it again. So for example, my account, I can log in now. I will log in with a new password, and you can save it. Right. Okay. Anyone has a problem, or you can follow me up to this point. Let me know if you have any problem. All right. So after that, you can go to home, and there are a list of corpora here. So I will choose one of them, the Corpus of Contemporary American English corpora. We have a right icon here. Red means you have login, but if it is yellow, so means that you are not logging. So there are some limitations and restrictions here. You can see it in your account. So for example, which category are you? You are in the third category, the red one. So it is the lowest category, but definitely this is fine for just for checking. You can always update it later on to check it. You can also get the academic license from if your university or your school intend to apply for this one, or the premium license, or you can also go for the premium personal one. But I think for our access, it's just the general one, the beginner one would be fine. So we go to search here. After you click Kota, you have 4 options here. The first one is search, frequency, context, and account. So search the panels. There is a list, chart, word, browse. Plus, you can click it to find the collocates, compare, and quick. The frequency will show you the results. The context would show you what is preceding and what is following certain words you are inquiring. And the account is your detail. So you don't need to check that one. So for the list, just to make it easy, for example, just to show you how I feel it, how we just first experience on me. So for example, we want to know sit on, with sit on. We need to see the find matching strings. Here we also have the post. Post mean part of speech. So if you want, for example, sit to have certain part of speech, you can click it and check it here. You can, for example, see sit as a noun, sit as a verb, adjective, and so on. So sit as a noun, for example, you can find a matching string, click the matching string, and it will show you all available options of sit plus sit as a noun here. So sit side, sit back, sit up, sitting, sit way, and so on. Definitely, usually 100 will be enough. You can change the limitation into 200 and 300 and so on, but definitely 100 will be enough because this is 100 most frequent one. You can find something like this in Google. I will also talk about the Google Ngram, which you can use as a collocations to check collocations. But definitely, Google Ngram couldn't provide context as easier as here. So, sit as a noun, you can see the frequency. Then you can see the context. Okay, we need to return back. For example, click one of them, the sit side, or you can check the list one. So for example, sit down. Then, oh, sorry. Just choose please, okay. Our session has expired for this one. I need to refresh it. So sometimes there is a problem with waiting. After you search for certain times, the web will ask you whether you want to go with the premium one. If you don't want to, you just need to wait. There will be a sign here for you to wait, and then you can continue. So for example, we will go just with a sit up, find the matching string. Then you can find the matching string and you click sit up, and it will show you the context of sit up, what is following and what is preceding sit up here. You can, if you need 1,000 sample, 500,000 or 100 samples, you can all check it here. So with this one, we can show to our students and our audience, research reader, certain, for example, from our theories about sit up as a, for example, as this is the general sit up. It includes all types, all findings of sit up as a noun or sit up as a verb and so on. So this one, the facilities in it. So we also have a chart. Chart usually show the sections inside it. So the Kota is quite interesting because you can divide your finding based on the chart. So this is overall chart. You can see sit up in fiction, in the magazine, news, or academic English, or in TV, in the web in general, or in the blog, and all findings found. You can also check it based on the year used, whether you can see a trend here that the use of sit up is slightly decreasing by 2015 to 2019. Maybe maybe it is not, it's no longer popular, or another reason could be that there is a new vocabulary used to show that one. So there are many possibilities, and we didn't know the possibilities just based on the number here, but we need to check the details later on. So for example, for the academic, you can click it here, and it will show you the context of sit up used in academic writing only. So this is basically what we are doing with the freely available corpora in internet. But we imagine that we can also make something like this with our self-compiled corpora, but definitely tagging those words and tokens would require a huge amount of time and energy. So definitely it's a bit difficult, but at least we have like the context, or the search will be available for our self-compiled one. But the chart, it's a bit difficult. We need to separate them manually. All right, up to this point, do you have any questions? If not, we can continue with others. So other would be, for example, like quick. We have quick here. We have sit up, and you want words with a context sit up here. So for example, here in the academic writing sit up, it has 62. Okay, there will be notifications sometimes if you need to upgrade your account, and here you will need to wait for a few seconds, 10 to 15 seconds usually. But if you do not really use it as a research or as for your job, I don't think you don't ever need to go to premium one. Premium is required if you use it for your business or your research or your jobs require it a lot, and you don't want this kind of okay, right, you can continue. Click sit up in academic writing, and it show you the context. There is a descriptions of the context here. Wait a second. And also it is also linked to the Google Translate, so you can always check it, the meaning. For example, you don't know the English, you are a teacher of Indonesians, but you are interested to check that one, you can always use this one to go to Google Translate to analyze it. Wait, okay, right. Okay, right. These are some basic use of it at the moment. And do you have any questions? If you have any questions, let me know first before we continue. And I don't want to make you get confused and get deserted in the middle of nowhere before we follow with more discussions. Could we get the steps how to register to the English corporate? Yes, I will prepare a steps step by step to apply for the English corporate, and which you can follow it later on. That would be easier for you if at the moment you don't know, I mean, or you do not have any chance to follow that one. All right, let me continue slightly the presentations. Oh, sorry, I clicked wrong. Yeah, this is the display of Kota with the chart, word browse, and so on. And then if you inserted more detail, you can see in quick because I haven't set it up, and it's still on waiting because in the to update. So we will just skip it. So you will see, for example, if you choose 3 words on the right and 3 words on the left, you can see, for example, different tagging here. The tagging for the blue one refers to noun. The tagging of the yellow one is prepositions. The tagging of different color, for example, fruitless, lovely, 10-year is an adjective, and so on. This is quite nice to show to our students and our readers. So this is the context for the frequency. And right, we will do the create our own work corpus, but before that I would like to show you, I would like to invite Mbak Afifah to show you on how we can create how the sense, just the concordance, the offline, the concordance. It is called NCON, and Mbak Afifah is used it in her research, which is quite nice. And I haven't seen the last findings of that research, but I'm looking forward to read it. And we will check it. Mbak Afifah, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Could you show us your, the display, just quick introductions on how you do it with your software? Thank you, Mbak.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Pak Nanang. Mohon izin Bapak dan Ibu, I'm a student of Department of English in Universitas Negeri Malang, and my title about model auxiliary verb in EFL academic writing, a comparative corpus-based study. Here I compare smile and also Kota. But after Pak Nanang demonstrate about Kota, here I will demonstrate about Angkon. Let me share my screen first. Okay. Could you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so if to help you, so I will give you the link to download the Encon. It's about 12 megabyte. If you have quota, you can download it from Lawrence Anthony's websites. I will put it in the chat box.
Okay.
So for you to...
This is free software that we can use for offline data corpus. Before we see the core contents, I will demonstrate how to insert the data. Here I have made it into TXT format because in Encon we cannot use Word for the format, so that we have to change it first. Now click File, Open, and choose the data that you have to be analyzed. Okay, here the data for SysMine. Okay, so here we can know the total of number of the data is 170 because I'm focusing on model auxiliary. So let's take example for model auxiliary for May. Here we can click start after type May. Okay. So here we can know the core contents of model auxiliary May, but here not all the data are model auxiliary, so that if we want to know the data in context, so this is very useful to see in concordance. Although we look for May here, but not all the words are model auxiliary, such as in this context, May means month. If we want to know in detail, we can click so that for the file view, we can know the word May in detail, such as in the full sentence. Yes, that is for the concordance. There are many features in Angkon. For example, in word list, we can know the rank and frequency of word that we want to look for, such as here. The word this is the frequency and this is the rank, so that all of the word that we want to know, just look for, just type it in the search term and click start, and then we can sort it by the frequency. I think that's it, Pak Nanang.
Yes. Wait a second. I'll sharing the attendance list as well as the exit survey in the chat box. Please complete it so we can have a sense of how many are really having problems or how many are really having good time with this workshop. All right, I will continue.
Okay.
So these are the the corpus concordance. We will discuss it a little bit more extra in the next sessions, the offline one, because it might be a bit difficult to discuss it through this online online opportunity. But we will do that, and we have some projects which we will be discussed later on a little bit. But I will be taking, if you have any 1 or 2 questions, let us know by turning on your microphone or write it in your chat box. If you have any questions regarding this software, we will be using it for the next sections, the offline one. So we will use MCOM as mainly because we will try to develop a project on this one. All right, so I guess let me know if you have any questions. So I guess I'll need to share the last slides. Okay, so if you are still not registered, maybe we need to wait for the email of the confirmations. Please check the spam, or we can check it later on with by registering with another account. Let me check it later. Let's check it later. All right, Bapak and Ibu, there are three announcements. Let me share the screen just to make it clearer. Right, the first one, please fill out the exit survey plus the attendance. And the attendance, all the participants who participates in these sessions will receive an e-certificate, which will be sent later on. We will check it, your attendance and as well, and we will make sure how many, we will try to check how many people are interested to join the second sessions, the offline one. So if you are only able to attend these sessions, the online one, don't worry, we will also provide you with a certificate. Don't forget to fill out the exit survey plus attendance in the chat box. Next, we will also have a project for our second meeting, our second sessions, which is to develop self-compiled homemade corpora. So I prepare a link here, and I will share the link to the chat as well as in the group. We have a Google Classroom groups and the WhatsApp group. Join that one and find this one. You can interact with people. And if you have any questions, we'll be very glad. Mbak Afifa, Pak Suharyadi, Professor Yazid, Bastami will be, and me, we'll be very glad to help you or to discuss further in these groups. And later on, after the second sessions, we also have another project, but this is just planned for the future project, that is to create such a short guideline on using corpus linguistics in teaching activities in high school, for EFL high school. So what kind of activities can we use with corpora for vocabularies and writing and so on? We will invite you to participate in that one, but at least at the moment, we would like to invite you to join the first project to develop self-compile or homemade corpora. With this one, what we mean by self-compiled corpora is that if, for example, imagine that if each teacher has like 10 or 20 or 2,000 or 200 works from students, and they can compile together. I imagine that all the participants here, if we compile those works together, we can create a relatively huge corpora locally for local teacher EFL teachers here. And we will make this corpora into one pack of the data, and then all the teachers can use the corpora freely, because it is your homemade self-compiled corpora. And this is the recognitions, definitely the recognitions of your participations in making the self-compiled corpora itself. So we will sort it out in the Google groups as well, and I will give a little bit longer description on that one. So what we need is any written file or task submitted by the students. Definitely it should be something copyable. So if you take a photograph or your students, not applicable for this one, but if you ask your students to type or to write, and you have a HTML or XML or TXT file of them, or at least if you have it in docs or HTML, that would be good. You can submit it to our Google Drive. You can upload it to our Google Drive. We provide a forms here, and it can receive up until 10 gigabytes. So I imagine it doesn't have to be that much, but at least it can hopefully it can include all kind of submissions you have. So we will have this corpora, and we will use it in our next sessions, in our second sessions, which is more practical than this one. So we will do more on how the corpora from our self-compiled corpora and this readily available corpora can be used to improve our ability to teach, to improve the students' writing, as well as to improve our researching and writing ability. Right, and this is generally the glance of what we are planning to do in the second sessions. So the project of developing homemade corpora, and the time will be announced later on. We will see the developments of national as well as the local situations in Indonesia and and Malang, definitely. And we will use that one as our base to decide when to conduct the second sessions offline. We'll use the readily available and homemade corpora to support teaching activities, how we can use corpora to teach vocabularies, writing, reading, and so on, as well as in academic writing and research skills. That's all. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, let us know. Please let us know if you have any questions. Is there a tutorial video or link how to use this software with a Google Classroom? The questions from Ibu atau Bapak Luki, we currently do not have ways to integrate this one into Google Classroom because the Encong writer do it for free, so he didn't plan to patent his product, and so there is a little development on how to make it to create extensions for Encong and so on. So you need to use it separately. But for example, you can use it into not only face-to-face, but in online setting like this. So you show the students how to do that one. Right. Any other questions or concern with that one? Okay. So I hope everyone has good experience and chance, like at the beginning, the introductory or basics of Google Classroom. And we would like to welcome you all later on in the project, as well as in the second sessions. We will give you the updates through the email, through the WhatsApp group and Google Classroom, related information regarding the software, as well as how we will do about the project and the second sessions. That's all. Prof. Yazid and Pak Suharyadi, is there any additional for the first
Pak
session?
Nanang, I'm sorry, may I ask a question?
Yes, Ibu Ayu.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I'm not clear very much. It is about corpora to submit our students' work. for example, in reading, writing, and so on. So what actually we submit about our students' product? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you have compilations of your works, your students' work, your previous students, definitely we have that one because we have a pandemic era and you have online learning. So if you have a catalog of your essay, your students' essay, or your students' writing, any kind of writings, which you think that it can be copyable, then you can submit those one. If you can copy it, that's fine. If you cannot copy, just you don't have time to do that, you can just upload it into that Google Drive which we provided there. So you just can copy it, or you can upload it there, so we can collect a big collection of corpora in which we can use together. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yes. Any more additions? Yes, Pak Suharyadi, is there any addition, Papa?
No, Pak, no more. So I think that's enough for today. So we just provide the information what to do in the next meeting to our participants. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. So we will develop, so to just to repeat it, last one, we will develop a self-compiled corpora. I put the link here in the chat box. You can also, I will also email you, if you insert your email in the survey, I will also email you so you can participate in it if you want to. And then the next sessions will be announced later on, waiting for the developments of pandemic in Malang. So that's all for now. Thank you very much for everyone's participations. After this, it is lunch. It's break time. There is no lunch for today. You can get your lunch by yourself. I'm so sorry for that one, but you can stay here if you still want to talk with us, or you can leave immediately after you fill out. Don't forget to fill out the questionnaire, and that's all I think. Thank you very much for the presenters, Professor Yazid Bastami, Dr. Suharyadi, Afifa Ainia, as well as our esteemed participants. Really, thank you so much for your attendance. We record to have like 70 people in the middle of this presentation, and now down to 46 and around 46. That's fine. Thank you so much, everyone. See you in the next meeting. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, Pak. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ibu Bapak. See you in the next meeting then.
Bye.
Thank you, Pak.
Have a great day. Stay safe.
Thank you, everyone. Pak Yazid, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Zazid. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Nanang. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. See you.
Bye. Pak Selamat, non sewu.
Iya, Pak Zardi.
Di SMA mana, Pak?
SMA 8 kulo, Pak.
Oh, SMA 8 ki, Pak. Sakjane yang nggih tangga. Nggih, Pak, matur nuwun.
Sami-sami nyuwun izin badhe rapat malih.
Monggo nggih.
Ngapunten. Assalamualaikum.
Semua rapat-rapat ini habis ini.
Terima kasih Pak
PPJ,
Yazid. Terima kasih Pak Saryadi.
Sama-sama, Bu.
Nggih, terima kasih Pak Nanang, Mbak Afifah. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Warahmatullahi.
Sore ini mau izin.
Nggih, Pak Sugeng.
Mau melanjutkan ngajar. Oh, bukan,
Nggih.
Mas Jul.